Mackenzie Shirilla, a case of a wrongful conviction. Part 2. In this section we will discuss the following: video recordings and the route taken. Video recordings. Because this is a case of a motor vehicle crash, to prove intent, the prosecution must be able to prove that Mackenzie displayed all the following conditions: consciousness, aware of her surroundings, aware of her actions, of sound mind, meaning sane, driving with intent, in full and complete control of the vehicle. However, the prosecution is unable to provide this information. Instead, they rely on speculation. The prosecution did provide proof of those things at the time of the turn from Pearl Road onto Progress Drive. However, once the vehicle went out of frame at the intersection of Pearl Road and Progress Drive, their burden of proof is automatically re-established. Thus, the prosecution can only prove the following: consciousness, at the time of the turn. Aware of her surroundings, at the time of the turn. Aware of her actions, at the time of the turn. Of sound mind, meaning sane, at the time of the turn. Driving with intent, at the time of the turn. And in full and complete control, at the time of the turn. What Mackenzie was doing at the time of the turn is irrelevant because we know that she had been driving earlier that morning because she was located in the driver's seat when first responders arrived at the crash scene. What the prosecution must prove is the following: consciousness, at the time of the crash. Aware of her surroundings, at the time of the crash. Aware of her actions, at the time of the crash. Of sound mind, meaning sane, at the time of the crash. Driving with intent, at the time of the crash. And in full and complete control, at the time of the crash. Unfortunately, because none of the vehicle occupants can be seen in the crash video, the prosecution cannot prove any of the above points, they can only provide speculation. The video of the turn also shows that Mackenzie did not appear to be under the influence of any substance because of her usage of her turn signal, the slowing down and acceleration being consistent with normal traffic at that intersection and being in full control of the vehicle at that time. The second camera that captured the crash is located over 2,500 feet, over 3/4 of a mile, from the first camera. This is a significant distance. This is a still frame from the first video showing the turn. Notice the clarity of the picture. Notice the lighting in the picture. The image is clear, you can see the driver, Mackenzie, you can see the front wheels in a position normally seen when making a right-hand turn. This is a still frame from the second video which captured the crash. Notice how out of focus and how much motion blur of the vehicle there is. Motion blur occurs when the shutter speed is set lower than the speed of an object. Notice the lighting in the picture and how dark it is. Now, please show me the headrests in the back window. As you can see, the quality between the two cameras are drastically different. The point of view of the vehicle on the two cameras is also different. The turn video shows the perspective of the vehicle on the left. The crash video shows the perspective of the vehicle on the right and the motion was away from the camera. Because the video of the crash only shows the passenger, rear side of the vehicle, we cannot make out any standard pieces of equipment inside such as rear seat headrests. This is due to the poor quality of the camera images and video. In fact, the one person who should be visible through the rear window would have been Davion because he was in the back seat. However, we can't see him on the video. This is the problem with the crash video. It requires a lot of speculation and imagination, neither one is conclusive proof. We can think we know, but speculation is not proof beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the requirement to find someone guilty. Is it possible for someone to have a medical emergency while driving? Yes, it is. After watching the previous video, a question is posed to you, the viewer, to make a determination. Was this crash an intentional act by the driver? Or was it a medical emergency? You will notice in the video, there is a pedestrian on the sidewalk. Was the driver trying to intentionally hit the pedestrian who just barely managed to get out of the way? The reason why this question is being asked is because the prosecution in Mackenzie's trial proclaimed the following: when somebody puts a foot on the gas pedal and never takes it off until the car collides with a concrete and brick structure, I think that shows intent. By this rationale, this video is conclusive proof of attempted murder and reckless driving. But is it? This press release by the Garfield, New Jersey, Police Department will provide more clarity.
Garfield, New Jersey. On Monday, August 14, 2023, at approximately 1:45 p.m., Garfield officers were dispatched to Passaic Street by the intersection of Midland Avenue for a 3-car motor vehicle crash. Upon investigation, officers later determined that an 88-year-old female operating the white sedan, seen on video, had a medical episode while inside her vehicle. During the medical episode, the driver put her foot down on the pedal and lost control of the vehicle. The vehicle then traveled at a high rate of speed onto the sidewalk, under the Passaic Street train trestle, striking a decorative light post, traffic light, and large flower pot, causing significant damage. At the same time, there was a male walking under the trestle headed to work at Walmart, highlighted in blue, that just cleared the trestle and luckily came seconds away from direct impact, escaping serious injury. Talk about being at the right place at the right time. The uncontrollable vehicle proceeded onto Passaic Street at a high rate of speed past the intersection of Midland Avenue, where it crashed into 2 vehicles waiting at the traffic light, finally causing it to stop. Responding officers immediately attended to the 88-year-old female driver, who was conscious with only minor leg injuries from the impact. There is no doubt the driver wearing her seatbelt saved her life. There were no other occupants in the vehicle. The driver was later transported to the hospital by EMS in stable condition. There were no reported injuries to the occupants of the other vehicles involved. Great job by all responding agencies who assisted Garfield police. We can count our lucky stars that no one was seriously injured in this incident.
The previous video shows a driver who, according to police, suffered a medical emergency while operating her vehicle. While age may be a factor, what is relevant is that the driver was fully licensed and approved by the state to operate a motor vehicle. Had the police not provided a press release regarding this accident, one could be convinced that the driver intentionally drove onto the sidewalk with the intention of running the pedestrian over. An interesting side note: this crash in New Jersey occurred on August 14, 2023, the first day of Mackenzie's trial in Ohio, with eerily similar details, specifically a speeding car, a crash, and the uncertainty of the medical condition of the driver. Bottom line, just because you have video, the video doesn't always tell the full story. Route taken. Why did Mackenzie take the route down Progress Drive? The prosecutor stated that Mackenzie intentionally went down Progress Drive because it was a dark, secluded road without much traffic and that it provided the perfect opportunity to commit this crime. However, this is an assumption. On page number 18 of Detective Hazer's notes, Kelly Vraja stated that she spoke to Mackenzie the night before the crash, and while she couldn't confirm what Dominic said, she said she heard Mackenzie, Dominic, and Davion were going to visit a guy named Mark, who lived at 226XX Westwood Drive, Strongsville, Ohio. A Google Maps search and driving instructions was obtained with driving instructions from Paul Burlinghouse residence, 938X, Brushwood Lane, Strongsville, Ohio, to Mark's address on Westwood Drive. The 3 recommended driving directions, in no particular order, are as follows. Starting address, 938X, Brushwood Lane, Strongsville, Ohio. Destination address, 226XX Westwood Drive, Strongsville, Ohio. Directions. Head north on Brushwood Lane toward Rosewood Lane. Turn right onto Whitney Road. Turn right onto West 130th Street. Turn right onto Royalton Road. Turn right onto Pearl Road. Turn left onto Westwood Drive. Destination will be on the right. Total estimated travel time, 20 minutes. Map showing route option number 1. Starting address, 938X, Brushwood Lane, Strongsville, Ohio. Destination address, 226XX Westwood Drive, Strongsville, Ohio. Directions. Head north on Brushwood Lane toward Rosewood Lane. Turn left onto Whitney Road. Turn left onto Pearl Road. Turn right onto Albion Road. Slight left to stay on Albion Road. Turn left onto Prospect Road. Turn right onto Westwood Drive. Destination will be on the right. Total estimated travel time, 13 minutes. Map showing route option number 2. Starting address, 938X, Brushwood Lane, Strongsville, Ohio. Destination address, 226XX Westwood Drive, Strongsville, Ohio. Directions. Head north on Brushwood Lane toward Rosewood Lane. Turn left onto Whitney Road. Turn left onto Pearl Road. Turn right onto Progress Drive. Turn left onto Alameda Drive. Turn right onto Westwood Drive. Destination will be on the right. Total estimated travel time, 12 minutes. Map showing route option number 3. As we can see from the Life 360 application from Davion's phone and Google Maps and the crash location already mentioned in Part 1. Mackenzie drove option number 3. The prosecution also felt that it was unusual for someone to drive down an industrial business park if they didn't have business there, implying that this was pre-planned, but interviews state that Mackenzie was known to frequent the area. We must remember that the Constitution of the United States allows free travel under the Privileges and Immunities Clause, U.S. Constitution, Article 4, Section 2, Clause 1. However, as shown on the next slide, we will see that the crash site, Mackenzie's residence, Dominic's residence, and Mark's residence are all in close proximity to each other, approximately 2.5 miles or less. Red pin denotes crash location. Green pin denotes Mackenzie's residence on Walnut Creek Drive, which is less than 2 miles away from the crash site. Purple pin denotes Dominic's address on Lund Road is less than 1.5 miles from the crash site and less than a mile north of Mackenzie's residence. Orange pin denotes Mark's address on Westwood Drive is less than 1.5 miles from the crash site. How does following the driving directions that even Google Maps says is a reasonable and viable option prove premeditation? Answer: it doesn't. How does driving in the area a few days earlier when Christine Russo and Landon Turner both told detectives that Mackenzie was already familiar with Progress Drive and Alameda Drive area constitute premeditation? Answer: it doesn't. Is it reasonable that a member of the community would be familiar with various roads within 2 miles of their residence? Answer: yes, it is reasonable. But if this wasn't intentional, what could have caused the crash if that was the case? Perhaps it was due to a sudden and unexpected medical emergency. This concludes Part 2.